hand fork. So it doesn't take, whenever you're doing your final heat up. Welcome back to Albright Metalworks. Today I'm forging a dozen Friedrichs crosses, also known as folded crosses. I'm starting with a piece of 3/8 square stock, not sure of the metric equivalent. You can make these out of any size or shape of solid bar. Here I've set up a rip fence like you would on a table saw, and I've centered the blade on the 3/16 mark. This helps kind of get an even and consistent cut, and it's really handy. You can do this with a hacksaw or many other different methods. The biggest thing is making sure you have as straight a line as you can. I am speeding up a lot of the footage in this video because this whole process took over 2.5 hours, and I don't know if anybody wants to sit around for that long. I'm also using a push bar here. The one on the left side, the bigger one, is mostly just to protect my fingers from fatigue pushing on the little bar, and then the smaller bar was just to hold it against the rip fence. You can do it with your finger, but I did it so that you could clearly see what I was doing. Now I'm setting up the rip fence to cut off the part of the long leg on the stock so that when you unfold it, you'll have all top 3 points of it being approximately the same length. It's really critical to get it as close as you can, otherwise it looks a little lopsided and goofy. You're going to cut 1 3/16 between here on the long leg. Now I'm moving on to wire brushing. If you don't do this, there's a little bit of rag from the cut that can end up leaving sharp edges whenever you're doing your unfolding and texturing. And just a simple little step to help clean things up and make it nicer. It's always a good idea to restage your tools so that you can save time. This is a hot cut Hardy that was made out of a broken skid steer bucket tooth and $20 Amazon hammer. The first bit is you just tap the end there just off the edge of the anvil, helps open it up so you can get into the slit to be able to widen it out and spread it. And do in both directions. And you can use just about any piece of your anvil when it comes to doing the spreading out. It's really good to get familiar with using all different areas of the anvil. Just want to make sure that if you're doing any kind of forging while the hot cut is in, that you're not forging where your hammer hand can come in contact with the blade edge. There have been smiths in the past that have cut their fingers off doing that. But here it's on the left and my hand's on the right. And I'm not doing crazy forging, just light taps. Once they're all opened up, I'll take it out and be able to freely work the entire face of the anvil if I need. It's always a good idea anytime you grab something in your shop, test the heat before you really grab a hold. You should always treat everything in a blacksmith shop as though it's sharp or hot. And cleaning off the slag on the face that was sitting there helps to keep it from forging that texture into your work, unless that's what you want. I have used that in the past for texturing. Looks pretty neat, but not what I'm going for on this project. And like I said before, you can use literally any part of your anvil that you can access to help in the process. I'm doing light taps here and trying to avoid tapping on the center cross section of it because we don't want to mar the edges that are raised up. And here I'm switching to a rawhide mallet. It's considered a soft blow, so it's not going to damage those things, just to kind of flatten it out and get it in the same plane. You can do this on a stump as well, because doing this on the anvil face can mar it a little bit, but just a light bit of marring isn't bad. I kind of like the look of it, but it's all the personal preference. Here I'm just taking a few minutes to make sure I get everything in line and straightened up and make it look even, because later on it could be a little more difficult once you've already textured it, because you don't want to mess up your texture. And then moving on, we're going to flare the ends and bevel them slightly just to kind of add a little pizzazz, or you could just leave them straight as they are before I start this portion. I'm using the fullering side of my hammer, and if you'll notice, I'm trying to do this at an edge where the other side of my hammer will miss the actual anvil face and not mar it up or mar the hammer. It's a really important thing to remember whenever you're doing your forging, is you want to try not to actually strike the face of the anvil any more than you necessarily have to, and that'll help prolong the life of your anvil face before you have to dress it. This particular hammer here is kind of special to me. It was my grandfather's hammer. I call it Pappy. And it's from the World War II era. I actually wire wheeled it off and looked at the maker's mark on it, and it dates back to middle of World War II. And here I'm using Pappy to just do little light blows to leave little indentions, hammer markings. I also do this on some of the knives I make and stuff. It adds kind of a nice, unique look to it. Before I started texturing, I turned the forge off and just let it naturally come down. You can do all this work at a black heat. You don't have to do it at a hot level, otherwise you can get the dents a little too deep. And doing this also whenever it's kind of slightly cooled off will help loosen up some of the forge scale, so it makes wire brushing easier. Alright, they're cooled down enough that I can touch them without burning myself, so I'm going to go ahead and center punch. Turn here, wait and see. I'm going to do the center punch on all of these, so I'm just going to do them and set them aside. This is going to help the drill bit line up on it and not walk on me, because this hammered texture can cause the drill bit to walk. Of course, the drill bit can walk on just plain flat steel too. Ooh, there's one I missed ball peening up. Texture on part of it. There we go. I threw it out a little bit. Let's see that here. There we go. It's always good to double check your stuff so you don't end up having one that didn't get completely finished. Especially since this is a customer order. Definitely want to make sure that you go over them good to make sure your customer's getting what they're paying for. I received some feedback in the comments in my last video that the music was a little too loud and obnoxious, and I appreciate the comments on that. If you see anything in the video that could help improve it, feel free to comment. I enjoy constructive criticism, and I'm willing to take any kind of advice to make my videos better for you guys. There's the final project or product, other than drilling and wire brushing and clear coating. Kind of an interesting look there. Alright, I'll see you at the drill press. Oh, I just realized I'm not supposed to wear gloves at a drill. Sometimes it's easy to forget some of those basic safety things. I didn't get any filming done this week at Forge Friday, which is the day after this video was recorded. I ended up hurting myself Friday morning a little bit, trying to pick something up, and started to lose my balance and grabbed something that wasn't solidly mounted and just about took a tumble, but it tweaked my back a little bit. So I ended up skipping out earlier on Forge Friday. Just couldn't keep going and didn't want to make myself worse. So I'm better now, so hoping to have video from this coming Forge Friday. We're going to be doing a big one where we're going down to southern Missouri to another smith shop, and he's got a lot of really cool stuff in there, so I'm going to do kind of a walkthrough video on that, probably followed by another video of just us forging and hanging out and having fun. So hope you'll join me. Another thing you can do after you get done forging it, instead of wire wheeling it, is you can heat it up and quench it in oil and it'll leave a black texture to it. Or you can do brass brushing to it to help give a little bit of a brass sheen to the highlighted spots you want. The options are just about endless on this, so your imagination is the only thing limiting you. But here I'm just going for the shiny, solid metal color and not the darker color. Sorry. All right. I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of these off camera so I'm not bumping the camera around and everything. Don't have a good spot to mount the camera where it's not going to vibrate with the machine. So anyway, this is basically the final product. All it needs is clear coat and a hanger. So I'll post a picture on here of one of the completed ones. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the like button. Don't forget to share it with your friends, and please hit the subscribe button as well. I'll catch you on the next one. Forge on, my friends.